I don't know how to show my face. I want to have my face on here, but oh well. Oh, I think it's maybe because I need to do this. No, that's turn on my camera. Oh yeah, there we go. But then how do I? Discord is just there we go. Can I move this? Yeah, I can move it. Yay! Okay, this is cool. All right. So we are live. Oh, but it just it pops up there. I can't like. Okay, let's go down there. How's that? All right. Stream start can vary based on how tricky the screen sharing is behind the scenes. Is this happening right now, or is this a previous? Oh yeah, people are chatting. Good times. We're already going. So yeah, oh, you know what? Let's get this schedule up. Here we go. Oh, but I'm covering it. Ha! All right, let's try this corner. How's that go? So yeah, we're started, but I mean, we're not really started until 6:45ish. Um, if I were really on the ball or something, I would maybe stream some music. Although we've tried that before and it's been really choppy for me, but maybe it was just me. Who knows? Anyway, we got a good crowd tonight, so it's going to be a lot of people, rapid fire, very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just there's actual chat happening. We got 41 viewers. It's more than the last 2 months combined, probably. Uh oh, another plug. Um, our folks on Twitch, Discord, or Slack. Folks are on all the things. um, but if you want to chat, if you are trying to plug something, shoot, I probably should go look at the plugs because I only saw one. Um, and I don't think that's you. But anyway, um, maybe ping me in Discord. Uh, that might work. So yeah, we're not really getting started until 6:45. In case that wasn't clear. feels weird for me to be actually on stream right now and not saying anything. I don't know why we start so early anyway. Maybe we should just have a firmer start time. It's amusing that my mouse is showing over the screen when I'm actually like mousing over windows that are in front of it. It's fascinating. Some of the chat in on Twitch is pretty funny. I think I heard a crash and I can't find the cat. Hey, I want the dinner. Someone's cooking dinner for presenters. Where's my dinner? Ah, people are just seeing my Discord. This is not what I meant to do. Oh, I totally screwed it up. Oh man, I had this like I realized what was different. I'm like, why does it feel so awkward this time around? And yeah, the secrets of my chat. This is so awkward and different because in previous months, what I've done is I've actually just gone into a public chat in Discord, and so this intro part, we've at least had a few people chatting, and it's not just me staring, like everyone's staring at my face and I'm talking. But the problem is we're not doing that this time around because I'm in like the special secret presenter room because we've got a lot of presenters tonight. So, and if I thought of this, 20 minutes ago, I might have said, "Oh, I'll just switch," and then that awkward like transition that you just saw, we would see that again a couple more times, but we won't this time around. So instead, it'll just be 5 more minutes of staring at me, or as I babble about either what people are chatting about or just whatever I want to. Ooh, hey, I made this game prototype that's sitting in front of me in the last few weeks. It's cards with Tetris shapes on them, and they're in different colors. It's pretty cool. And then they all have actions on the back, so there's all these like every there's every possible combination of five Tetris shapes and five different colors, and then yeah, I won't get into how it works, but that was kind of fun. Papercraft, and I'm thinking about buying a printer because that was a lot of work. It is kind of an abstract puzzle game. And then I was shown up in Slack by uh, oh, now I'm forgetting who made the prototype. Somebody's prototype from a place that I can't remember the name of because everything is just flown out of my head. The Game Crafter. And it was Nick's prototype. That's yeah. Sorry, Nick, if you're watching. I doubt you're watching. I couldn't remember your name. um, yeah, so I have ordered one prototype from the Game Crafter in the past. It was pretty cool, um, but it felt like a lot of work to make the files to upload to the Game Crafter. This is like what a publisher does, right? Now, like with all online digital prototyping, like, I mean, you have to do so much more work for a prototype. I mean, as much work as it was to make these 50 cards, it was an evening of, drawing. It wasn't like 2 days of Photoshop or whatever it would be. I don't know. It'd be a lot of time for me because I don't do that kind of stuff that much. This is not beer, by the way. This is kombucha. Just for the record. We have 81 people. 79. I see. Still, that's kind of a lot. I still have 2 minutes on my watch, but then we'll get started. What's everyone playing? Hey, Dev. Shout out to Dev. I mean, if I give it away, it's like everyone will make their own copy, and then no one would care. I don't know why that is definitely not a fear. If you really want to know, I will talk a little bit about it. So I'm going to make a grid of these cards that are all tetra shapes on the table, 4 by 4 grid, and then the actions on the back of the cards are things like replace a card with the top of the discard pile, or replace a card with one in your hand, or swap 2 cards with the same shape or color, swap 2 edge cards. So they're about grid manipulation. And then you are going to pick, so you've got a hand of 4 cards, and you are going to use up to 2 of the actions, and then you're going to put one face up in front of you, and all the cards also have their shapes on the. I'm like, where can I see what I'm showing? Oh, let's do this. Can I just like make this bigger? Can I just make myself? Do I have to? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so yeah, so all the cards on the backs also have the symbols, and they'll either say shape or color. And so you choose one to put face up, and then at the end that will score you for that the number of cards that you've collected that have that shape. And so every round you're going to put one down like that. And then the fourth card, so up to 2 actions, then the fourth card you're going to use that shape to collect 4 cards out of the grid, and those become your next hand. And the ones that you collect have to either all be the same shape or all different shapes, and they have to be all the same color or all different colors. So there's a little bit of set in there for those who've played set. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So then I think it depends on the number of players, how many rounds you can play, but you could shuffle the cards back in to play longer. But it also plays solo, so I've played a couple games solo, and you actually keep track of all the cards that you collect as well, like so which shapes they were and which color they were. So there's a score sheet in front of me as well, and then at the end you multiply those numbers by the cards that you put face up. So there's my little score sheet, and you have you like little cubes that you march across the score sheet. So that's that game. I just made this like in the last 2 weeks, and I have another prototype that I also made in the last 2 weeks that I'm really excited about. So it's been kind of a lot of design in the last couple weeks. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you couldn't follow that. Like that's my fault. Okay, so I think we're ready to get rolling here. Actually, 2 minutes later because I decided to explain my prototype. Wah wah. Um, Welcome everyone. This is the IGDA Twin Cities chapter. Normally we would meet in person. We met for years at the Nerdery, and obviously aren't doing that currently. So we do have a safe code of conduct, safe arcade policy. You can read that. You can actually find all these slides on tinyurl.com/igdatc-slides. And that reminds me that I probably need to refresh this slide deck because I think I was making edits to it. Oh no! And I want to present, but I want to present it in this window. Crap. It's going to do this, and then I'm going to be like, what's happening? That's not a thing. Exit full screen. Does this even work? Oh, that seemed to work. Okay, good. Okay, we're back to that slide. So thanks everyone for coming. We also have these folks who kind of run this thing, our board, as it were. We haven't actually met as a board for months, but I think we're going to do so again soon, so that's great. You're welcome to talk to any of these people about us. We have a rough calendar in that we meet the second Wednesday, that's this meeting, the third Wednesday for the Twin Cities playtest, and the fourth Wednesday is typically the VR and HCI meeting. So for next month, we do not have a presenter, so we are looking for a main presenter for next month. We have a short talk presenter, but we don't have the main presenter. Usually we have two presentations in an evening. Tonight will be different because we have a lot more than that, and they'll hopefully be shorter. I mean, they'll be shorter than normal, and we'll get into that later. A little bit about here's what the VR meeting has been looking like inside VR. We've been meeting in alt space, uh, and that's been kind of fun. Um, it's wrong. Oh, what things are wrong? The safe event policy link is wrong. That makes sense, actually. I should update that slide. Apologies. Um, Somebody capture that for me in Slack. Because I'm not doing it right now. Okay, Twin Cities playtest. There are a bunch of different ways you can contribute to the Twin Cities playtest. Thanks to those who run this. Um, you can just be an attendee and watch on Twitch, just like you're watching this meeting probably on Twitch. But you can also be a playtester and actually play the games on stream. And then finally, if you have a game that you want to be playtested, they're always looking for games. I think they playtest anywhere between like 2 and 5 or 6 games in a session. So there's always room for more games, I think, and they're always looking for games, and it's cool. I've done it a couple times, or I've done it. I've only had my game play tested once, but I've watched it more than once, more than a couple times, and it's great. It's such a good. I mean, I'm glad that we're doing this. I'm not as involved in this game. Okay, I'm just gonna shut up. So you can. I thought I was gonna. I guess this is the slide where I talk about the VR meeting. I don't know why it comes before the playtest. In that these are different. I'm just gonna keep sliding back and forth between our meetings. The VR meeting, the next one will be Matt Summers talking about creating social spaces in VR, specifically with Normcore, which is super cool. Okay. You can connect with us in all these different ways. You can email us. There's a Slack that's pretty active. Discord is kind of active sometimes, but is great for real-time communication, during our meetings. Obviously, we have Twitch, and the events get streamed to Twitch, and then they get archived to YouTube. So you can actually find, I think, most of the events for the last year on YouTube. And then, of course, you can tweet at us, and we sometimes see it. So this is also kind of a page about our website you can go to, which exists. Blah, blah, blah. Presenters. We need presenters. If you're interested in presenting, please talk to me, because definitely we're looking for that. Question from someone who hasn't been to the prototype meeting yet. Are bare bones prototypes accepted, or is this for more polished things? That's a good question. I think it's kind of up to you. Like, if you think it's ready for playtesting, bring it on. And yeah, thanks for everyone who's answering that in chat. We are a chapter of the actual IGDA, which is the International Game Developers Association. They have a real thing that you can join. You can become a member of if you want, and there's all kinds of information about that at igda.org. You can read about that. And for yet again, I've forgotten to remove this survey from this slide. Fail. I'm going to skip this slide. I'm trying to move pretty fast tonight because we've got a lot of people slated. So I think this is going to be it's just great. I'm excited to get to it. So we do have this kind of like you're allowed to sign up for a plug my thing ticket and plug your thing, which we're not great about doing during like over the stream like this. So apologies if you have signed up for that and then I forgot about you, or I didn't make you a slide, or you weren't able to connect in any way. But we are always wanting to promote local stuff that's happening, local games that are releasing, so anything like that, please post in the chat somewhere, either Discord or in Twitch, and I will usually try and mention it. So we only have a couple announcements. This was mentioned last month, but Brock released his album Speak Tier, which I think hopefully that's how you pronounce that. Actually, I don't even know, but the it's a new album, and that's kind of exciting. So thanks, Brock, for um, I guess sharing that with us. And then is Seth around? Like, so I had one person wrote in, yeah, yay, Brock, awesome. And I've actually listened to that album a couple times now. It's great. Oh, Seth is here, and are you on Discord? Because I don't. This is not something I can really speak to, so we almost have to have you on if you're gonna plug this. Um, the question is like, are you connectable? DM me. Yes, please do. And then we'll have you speak for a minute on Project Success. What's interesting about Project Success, while I wait for Seth to DM me, yes, is that it was started in 1994, which is the year that I was. Um, okay, wait, I have to find you not on. Sorry about this. Actually, I wonder if it would happen if I just. Can I add you to the stream? Like, no, I don't see a way. Like, I can just like start a new video call, which is not what I want to do. Um, maybe it is what I want to do. Let's see what happens if I click this. So lame. Uh, yeah, so it just reverted, of course, to the other Discord window, and I have to change that back again. Discord is just full of itself. Can you hear me, Seth?
I think I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and I think our listeners can too. So, um, uh, yeah, I'll let you talk about Project Success.
Fantastic. Yeah, so what was already said, plus a little bit more. Project Success is a after school educational organization that tries to provide some opportunities to Minneapolis high schoolers. And it's all manner of things. It's that they offer support with things like college prep, but they also do just really any kind of support these kids need. They do all kinds of cultural events, um, and yada yada yada. They have also branched out into doing these so-called certificate programs, which are kind of like short semesters of classes on a few different subjects. One of those subjects is programming. And the kind of kids who are in this class range from people who have never touched a computer before to a few who have been doing it for years and are borderline employable. And it's kind of shocking. But the thing is that a lot of different students have different motivations for being there, and a lot of them just they're trying to figure out what they can do, and they know that programming is a thing. And so I know for a fact that a large fraction of the kids are very interested in game development. And even if they're not, it's an interesting subject for them to see about and be exposed to. And more importantly, this night in particular, where we get to hear from the University of Wisconsin students, is really great because a lot of these students are thinking about what they're going to do next, and trying to find a program that they might want to go pursue is one of the things that Project Success would want them to know about. And so I'm actually here to solicit or recruit, which is that we hold this programming certificate on Thursday nights. And if anybody from the group tonight is willing to repeat their demonstration tomorrow night, or any Thursday after that for that matter, we'd love to have you. And I think the students would really love to ask you about your experience, both as a student and just working on your game. And if anybody's willing to do that, figure out a way to yell at me in chat or otherwise, and maybe we can get together. And it doesn't have to be in a hurry. It can be any week in the near future, or really any time. But if it's fresh on your mind and you feel like you really nail it tonight, then yeah, let me know. I think that's all I got.
That's great. This is exactly the kind of plug we want. Um, so I started to say that Project Success started in like 1994 at my high school. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
I was in 11th grade, I think. So like I knew people who were involved with it, and I was not, but I just it was always like just like a thing that I knew about, and then I made the website for it in like 2002 or something like that. Like I worked on the website
No
professionally.
way.
Yeah, so it was years later. But yeah.
Fantastic. Oh,
Anyway,
that's really great. And yeah, like the students who get here, they're just the most bright-eyed, hopeful group you could ever see. And I really think this organization does a lot of good, and they try really hard to make just these opportunities be available. And before the plague, I was part of their, like, they give rides to students who can't make it. So it really is just one of the most upstanding orgs I've ever seen. I really like what they do. And yeah, they love to see people and ask questions. If you want to brag about your work, they'd be a great audience.
super cool. Well, thanks for plugging.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I just have to jump back to the other stream, so bear with me for a minute. Oh my god. Ugh, I apologize about this. This is terrible. Oh my god. I yeah, this is painful. Okay, I think we're back. Except I'm not on camera anymore. Okay, all right. So now we actually are ready to. I should have said this out loud because Seth could have joined me in here. Although I guess that would have been just yet another thing. But um, another Seth, right? Am I am I right about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
That's like a coincidence that at first was like, wait a second, am I even now I'm misremembering? No, no, they're both Seth. Uh, so you are gonna
I
share.
usually
Are you
usually
gonna
go by Seth B. So,
Seth B? Okay. Yeah. So Seth
oh, I
B,
got a friend.
you are
Right now. He gets one.
gonna um, show some slides now. Is that? Am I?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I've got my daughter here, so
Oh, excellent.
send her off to mommy here real quick. But yeah, let me go ahead and get that up and going, and we'll
Okay.
talk a little bit about who we are, because I'm sure you guys want to know. So yeah, let me share the right screen here. Here we go.
I think I can like.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh my gosh. Did that shut everything down again? Oh my gosh, it totally did. Uh, give me
Bunch
a
of our game design and development students.
Seth, you're gonna have to hold on here for a second. It's all messed up again. Every time I change anything in Discord, it goes back into non-windowed, and then I have to switch
Oh,
which window I'm streaming. Sorry about that.
no,
Uh,
no worries.
okay, so I let me just start you all over. Wait, if I click this button, I'm like afraid it's gonna do it again. Okay, no, it
Oh
didn't.
no,
Okay, we're good.
we're still here. Okay. Okay, is my slide coming through? Does it seem like here?
Yep, it looks great.
All right, cool. All right. So yeah, we're from the University of Wisconsin Stout, and tonight we have a bunch of our game design and development students here to present their work, or at least to tell you about it. So they've really done some amazing things in this anything but normal year. So this is a real celebration for us this time around. So a little bit about Stout. So we are located in Menominee, Wisconsin, just across the border, about 60 miles from St. Paul, right off Highway 94. It's close enough that we usually come and attend this in person and present these games in person, and I'm sure we will again here eventually. Um, so Stout itself has just shy of 10,000 students total, and about 350 of those are game design and development students. Most of our GDD students are undergrads, but we also work with masters in fine arts students in design, where game design can be one of your specialties. And you're going to see one of those projects tonight as well. So So this is very much a collaboration. We have the major on the computer science side, and we have the major in Bachelor of Fine Arts on the arts side in the School of Art and Design. And we have 5 major classes where we bring those students together, where half the class are programmers and half are artists, and they're working to make something. And so it all starts out the first year, GDD 100, Intro to Game Design. We're really focusing on fundamental game theory and design concepts. And we challenge the students at the end of that to work on a team, small team of like 3 to 4 students to make a physical tabletop game. This year, they are print and play games, and most of them are available on our SGX website. I'll give you a URL for that here soon, where you could go and print and play them if you would like to, and I'm sure they would love that. Then, in the second year, we move them on to the digital world, and we start emphasizing teamwork skills. This is the big thing: is that can you work together with a team coming from disparate backgrounds and make something significant? And so this is probably their first super big taste of that. They are making casual games, we like to say, simpler games, and there's still a lot of curriculum to learn in this, so it's still not just the project. And by the end, the game, if it's in person, we have them available on tablets. They're mobile games that you can play on Galaxy tablets at SGX. These years, we're doing them as web browser experiences. Most of them were made still with Unity and targeted the WebGL platform. So after that, we have our junior year experience. And this is where we start really pulling out restrictions. There's a lot less curriculum and a lot more just project time where the students are working together in teams of 4 to 6. Again, half art, half programmers. But they only get 1 semester to make a 2D game. We don't say it has to be casual. We let them kind of figure it out as they go. And they even pitch the game concepts, though we also encourage game ideas as well. We love having customers for them to work for. And so we really work with them to try and rein in scope and make sure that they have something polished and playable in just about 3 to 4 months. This is a real challenge. Then the games that you're going to see tonight, most of them are coming from our senior experience. This is a year-long experience, 2 full semesters, about 9 months, plus a little time over the summer that they work in teams of 12, 10 to 12, depending on exactly how our enrollment goes. Each year we have 6 to 8 of these days that are being made, these games. They are in 3D using a major game engine, almost always Unity, sometimes Unreal. There's a bias towards Unity these days. And it's really about teamwork and agile development. And it's all about working to rein in scope and make sure that you have something deliverable by the end, getting as close to that experience as we can in 9 months. So that's what we're going to be seeing tonight, are mostly these games, plus 1 MFA thesis as well. Now, we present all of this at a big event every semester that we call the Stout Game Expo. Usually we rent the entire great hall and ballrooms. It's full of people, not COVID friendly, but really fun event. These have been virtual the last 3 times, including this year. And if you are interested, you can go check it out. It's all available online. Easiest way to find it is just to Google UW Stout SGX. The URL for it's kind of long. But you can explore all the games there, all the print and play games. Most of the digital games are on itch, and you can go right over there and either download them or play them right in the browser. It's a great experience. We also have a curated list on itch that you can visit as well, uwstout.itch.io. You'll find a lot of the games there. The print and play ones are not there. Most of the digital ones are there, though, and you can go through and try them all out, including the games you're going to see tonight. So we encourage you to do that. Please go and play the games. Leave some comments and feedback for our students. They love it when people comment on their itch games. So yeah, that roughly here now, the sort of schedule we're expecting puts us right about here, and we are ready to move over to our first game. Before we do that, is there anything else we should talk about before we move into it?
I can't think of anything.
All right. Well, let's get this show going.
Yeah,
So
this is great.
yeah,
That's a very nice intro. So, yeah, let's just get it on get this show on the road. So, first up, you had, I should pull up Oh no, I can't. I saw that list that you have up, and I was like, ooh, I don't have that
Oh
slide.
shoot. Ah.
But I have that in an email, but it's not available
Oh shoot.
on
Yeah.
the right computer. But the no, that's great. So the first up though is Abyss, and I actually don't have
Yep.
names with it anyway, so I can't really intro.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, so this is our first project. This is the Master of Fine Arts and Design student Morgan Brantner, and this one will be more of a presentation than the others. This is what we sort of expect of the master students when they get to the end and are ready to sort of defend their project and thesis. And so I see he's here in the room now. If you want to go ahead and share your screen, we can let you present here.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that went through.
All right, we'll make sure we get it up and working here.
awesome. So I'll just I'll leave you to it. Thanks, Morgan.
All right, no problem. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Morgan Brantner, and this is a short overview of my thesis work titled Cooperative Design in Digital Games for Social Closeness, and the accompanying game project, Abyss. This creative thesis compares the social nature of modern digital game design with an ideal pro-social system, the foundation of which is the research of cooperative mechanics that help influence positive social interactions. It tries to present a framework for understanding the nature of multiplayer games and the tendency for the internet's anonymity to lead to negative social interactions, based on industry research and current events. Some of these ideologies and cooperative mechanics will be explored in Abyss, a 3D cooperative game that pairs players against a dark entity in a beautifully hazardous environment. The first topic we need to cover on this journey are pro-social emotions. Digital games are becoming an increasingly acceptable way for everyone to spend time together. Through the act of spending time together, completing challenges with one another, in digital games, players can experience these emotions and develop positive experiences and associations with one another. In fact, I'm sure many of you watching now have had some positive social experiences playing or designing games for this very purpose. In several examples throughout the internet, you can find stories of compassion, friendship, and love expressed as a direct result of sharing these experiences. So if these moments exist, why are we still fighting what feels like an uphill battle against toxicity in the social spaces of our game worlds and beyond? Indeed, it doesn't take long to find reckless negativity or cruel intention online, or in digital games, competitive or otherwise. And about since 2004 and the advent of the second generation of the internet, known as Web 2.0, this is the version that you're probably most used to nowadays, where user-generated content and participatory social platforms are the norms. There were no detailed laws or comprehensive guidelines during this time, leading to many ethical issues and some tragic events. It also led to the forming of a new study of ethics called cyberethics, which studies questions and moral dilemmas brought on by the emergence of digital technologies. In the following years, many stakeholders worked to retroactively make the internet a safer and more private place to interact. So, as designers, we should create appealing intrinsic rewards in our social systems that utilize and reward pro-social behavior for helping to grow healthy player-to-player relationships and communities. So, with digital games having so many different ways to interact these days, I'm proposing that if bringing people together with games is something that you value as a designer, the best practice is to design for these pro-social interactions from the onset. A concept that can help achieve this is procedural rhetoric. This paves the way for the notion that players of digital games can be persuaded to act pro-socially through the systems that we design. The challenge is then for designers to honor their players' habits while still encouraging pro-social actions, such as having players acting in pro-social ways be more rewarding, in general, by creating a clearly defined set of rules that players follow that allows for transparency in the system so that the players don't feel like they're being manipulated. Now, I'm not done yet. This isn't quite over, but I wanted to note that these are only some of the examples and information detailed in my paper. If you would like to learn more about cyber ethics, altruistic game design, and more, or just examine it further, you can keep an eye out for it this summer online. So we've touched on social systems in multiplayer games, and the pro-social benefits of cooperative games. Next, I want to discuss the methodology and creation of cooperative mechanics in a split-screen game, and how they're implemented in the accompanying game project Abyss. Abyss is a cooperative third-person platforming game. It utilizes what are known as cooperative performance metrics, as detailed in the research study Understanding and Evaluating Cooperative Games. By utilizing the pre-existing system that they provide, this game project quickly assessed common cooperative trends in digital game interactions by identifying 3 of their cooperative performance metrics. Complementary actions, the players' roles in the game complement each other during the activities. Shared goals, the players' objectives are the same throughout gameplay. And special rules, the game presents exceptional circumstances to structure cooperation between players. Various elements of the game Project Abyss had to be specifically addressed because the game is played in split screen. As a result, more development time had to go into camera settings because of the ability of split screen games to interfere with player visuals. This led to developing a system where players can adjust the camera and reset it within certain bounds to help with gameplay. Leaning into the shared goals and complementary cooperative performance metrics, players have enhanced and special abilities that affect visuals and gameplay in the following ways when the players are close to one another. The crystals on their shoulders grow brighter and emit particle effects. The haptics of the controller rumble in gentle intervals. The players can heal one another if they have lost health, or cleanse them if they've been afflicted with the darkness. The players can move faster and jump higher, allowing for them to reach platforms easier or to make previously impossible jumps. Certain aspects of the game were adjusted with feedback to a prototype version of the game. Initially, the game used basic health bars. This was in an attempt to lower development time. The UI was very basic and pushed off to the side. This led to players not really noticing their partner's health and straying far apart. To help combat this, the health bars went through another design pass. They now resemble the characters and have been brought together in the center of the screen. Another significant design aspect that was altered due to feedback is how damage is dealt to the player. There was a need to allow for freedom of exploration in this type of game, while avoiding one player getting too far ahead and abandoning their companion, while also trying to not stop them in their progress entirely. Negative experiences in cooperative games are frequently born from one player having to wait, another player feeling rushed, and players getting in the way of one another. The solution in this current build is to make damage from the darkness tick down constantly until a player is healed or cleansed. This creates many more moments where the players need to communicate and help one another. With Abyss being created by mainly one person, it was necessary to have significant parts of the game compartmentalized in easy to understand groups. The development was split up into these 3 major sections, each following a normal iterative development cycle. The core aesthetics from the pitch of Abyss was to be a fantastical cosmic horror-esque environment, a world that felt dark and foreboding but also beautiful and intriguing. The goal wasn't to drive players away, but to give them a sense of wanting to explore the environment before them with a companion rather than alone. This proof of concept was created in Unreal Engine to show that the visuals and workflow were achievable. The following steps for the environment were to reach out to trusted concept artist and UW Stout alumni, David Fraszewski. On and off over 4 months with feedback and direction, Abyss's environment concepts were created. A colorful and dark take on an almost alien cave system that looks as though it could be underwater, but isn't. On this slide, you can see the final engine renders of each of the levels of Abyss. In spring 2021, additional environment assets were created by Ryan Kilmer and Hannah Curtis as they began work with me on the trailer for this project. An audio team from the collaboration between UW Stout and Berklee School of Music was also added to the project to help produce sound effects, ambience, and music for the game. During the environment time and development, characters were also being created. A few iterations of the generic adventurer was created until the form and function of the design were finally nailed down, with the crystal shoulder mount and partially covered faces. The core aspects of the characters were to be stylized and low poly. And for the final core piece, Abyss's gameplay was created to grant players a sense of power and freedom of movement while exploring the world. It was important during development to test and make sure that gameplay was easy to pick up, had snappy, intuitive controls, and had as few barriers as possible to entry. This step in development focused heavily on the concept of game feel, which can be described as the intangible and tactile sensation of playing a digital game. The parameters that were modified to produce a good game feel for this development project are input, feedback, and rules. For input, the responsiveness of the player's input is 1-to-1. For every button press, the player creates an action on the screen. Freedom of combination is also allowed. A player can enter any of the platforming stages from one another. Lengthy animations, locked cameras, and cutscenes are avoided. For feedback, every action that the player makes while moving, the controller provides haptic response. The character animates instantly, the game visuals are updated, and any information that the player could need is provided on input with sound effects, lighting, animations, and the health bar. And finally, rules. The mechanics that calculate player collision while platforming is relaxed to allow for significant margin of error. Damage that the player takes is calculated and shown in real time, with a slight delay at the end that'll enable players to allow a close escape situation. Abyss was developed over a year. It's a couch co-op platforming game that utilizes cooperative mechanics to explore pro-social game design and interactivity in games. This game and thesis look to contribute to the proliferation of positive social emotions in game design to help create more meaningful and impactful games. And with that, I believe I have a trailer to show, and that'll be all. All right, and that's Abyss. I just wanted to take a moment, real quick, to say that the support and guidance of the teachers at Stout and my thesis chair, Kim Loken, have been nothing short of life-saving during 2020 and beyond. And this project could not have reached the level that it has without the skilled concept work of David or technical advisement from people on Twitch and the incredibly talented work from the audio team who nailed the tone and feel of the game. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. All right. Well, from here on out, the remainder of the games are all from our senior Capstone experience, and I believe you've got trailers for each of these, and we can start with those, and then we'll have the students come in and talk about their game at the end of those. So the first up is the project Vessel.
So I want to. There we go. Let's see if this works.
Here we go.
All right, so I've got this playlist. Let's watch this Vessel trailer.
What is this place?
This is a place between worlds. A stop before the beginning. Walk with me.
All right, so do we have the Vessel folks in here?
Yes, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
I'll go first. I'm Mo Morris, and I was the art lead for Vessel.
And I'm Emily Schaefer, and I was the PR lead as well as an environment and texture artist on Vessel.
Awesome. So it looks like we're watching some of the gameplay here as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the mechanics of the game are and like what do you do in the game?
Yeah. Vessel is a puzzle game, and we had the really unique opportunity to work with the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Little stumble there. So it's a puzzle game, and you have to put the artifacts back into the correct places in the museum. You are split between two different vessels, which you should be able to see at some point. And they're the two like glowing people, and you switch between each of them by having a direct line of sight, either like direct line of sight or with a mirror. So you flip between their perspectives, and each one has a unique ability.
So are these directly like things that you would find in the museum as well, or was there?
Yeah. Yes, actually. So like the loading screen that you saw, each loading screen is like randomly generated. It gives you an artifact out of one of, I think, 38 that we used, around 38.
36.
Yeah, something like that. Yes, we did use Mia's photogrammetry objects. Some of them are from Sketchfab, and then some are from Dr. Tetzloff as well as Seth. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. So you kind of place them around. So these are actually items that Mia has in their collection. And some of them you can go to the museum and see them on display, which is very, very cool. So you can see here that this is I'm blanking on the word, one of the tutorial levels. And you can see like when they look at the other glowing person, that's when they're switching between the two vessels. Yep, tutorial level 1. There we go.
Just forward?
Yeah, you recognize a few. So you could see like the splitting between the vessels.
Nice. So it is a single player game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a single player game. Yeah, sorry about that. It's a single player game. You're playing as like the soul between the two vessels, and there's an older version and a younger version. The older version, I believe he can see things that the younger version can't, because he knows the museum, whereas the younger vessel doesn't, and the younger vessel can jump and has more mobility than the older vessel does. So you have to work between the two vessels and make sure you line up your line of sight so that you can make it through the puzzle to solve it.
Interesting. How did you decide on these mechanics? Like, at what point in the project was this like, this is what we should make?
And Mo, was that like in the original?
That was a part of the original pitch. The lead designer for our game, Brandon, who's unable to be with us due to internet problems, he pitched this idea of swapping with a direct line of sight, and he had thrown in the possibility of using Mia's artifacts. So Emily and we actually hopped on that when we were first getting prototypes and really developing out the game a bit more before we had Stout's mega pitch, which is where all of the senior students pitched their game ideas, and then from there it was decided which games would go on, where we would then have our 12-person, 10 to 12-person teams make them to where they are now.
Got it. Do you want to say a little bit about that process? Like, how much was developed before the mega pitch?
It's actually interesting enough. It depends on the teams. Sometimes they'll make a prototype in an engine, like to show that, hey, the mechanics can be made. And other times it's just developing out more of the design aspect of it. So I actually, as an artist, I spend a lot of time in Unreal and made our prototype for the mega pitch. And that was really just getting the swapping mechanics figured out, because originally we were planning to work in Unreal. But when we started discussing different things that we wanted to do and using Mia's artifacts, Dr. Tetzlaff, he jumped in and mentioned his research with image-based rendering. So about a month into development with our full team, we actually swapped over to Unity. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the wide variety of pitches and where in the process they are by the time we have mega pitch. I believe that's maybe a week or two into the semester.
Fascinating. So how many people worked on this project?
12.
12 people. And what was the breakdown of, like, who was doing what approximately?
So we had 6 programmers and 6 artists. On the programmers side, we had a couple that were interested in audio and like making a script and dialogue, story, narrative, stuff like that. Our lead programmer, Blake, spent a lot of time doing like tech art stuff. And then 2 of our programmers really dove into the code, making the levels. One worked on level design a ton with another one of our artists. And then on the art side of things, we were actually really lucky to have a good variety of skills so that we could really make a good pipeline. It took a little bit to really start to figure out, but we managed to really come together the second semester to get a lot of this looking where it is now.
Yeah, plus there was also 4 students working with us as well from the Berklee College of Music, so they did all of our soundtrack and this audio recording as well, and they did an amazing job. It's been really cool to work with people who are actually trained to make music for games, so that we don't, because it kind of gets forgotten sometimes, because it's just not something that we focus on at Stout. So we're all focused on making the game look pretty, and no one is even thinking about what it sounds like until the end. So it's been really, really cool to have someone who their passion is to score games and do that for us.
Yes, thank you for adding that.
Yes, always gotta shout out the music people.
Tell me about the working with the Mia. Like, what was that like? How did you get these assets from them?
We worked mostly with Seth and Dr. Tetzloff specifically because they had been working on research doing photogrammetry stuff. So some of the assets I believe we got from Sketchfab, some we got from Dr. Tetzloff specifically. I know there was a lot going on over at Mia with swapping through galleries and stuff, so we didn't really get to talk to them until the end of the year where we really just kind of got to show off what we did. So it was kind of a little surprise for them, like, hey, look at what we did. Look at all the cool things we used.
That's great.
Yep.
So what would you say personally was your favorite, like, or maybe not favorite, but like the thing that you're most that you feel most accomplished about this project?
Oh man, that's a
put you on the spot.
I don't know. I think personally we made a game that looks really pretty. I absolutely love the art history aspect. I minored in art history, so it's always very fun to use like the historical objects. So I really liked that aspect and how everything came out looking. I think it ended up looking pretty. And as an artist, that's my main goal, is to just make everything look as good as possible.
For me, it was definitely getting more experience with Unity. I spent a lot of time in Unreal doing a bunch of different projects in there, but because Unity is so code heavy and it's not blueprints, I was a little afraid to almost hop into Unity when we swapped over. But the last couple months, I spent a lot of time in Unity texturing Pro Builder assets and cleaning up some of the levels to allow us to have some of the textures that we have on there. It was definitely a good learning experience, and I think that's what I enjoyed the most.
Nice. It's interesting. So, as someone who works in Unity more than Unreal, it's interesting to hear you like talk about it as like a code-heavy environment. Did you well, that's neither here nor there. There are some like plugins to do more of the like the visual style coding, like blueprints in Unity. I was gonna ask if you had looked at any of those, but you don't have to go into that if you don't want to.
I actually didn't know that was a thing, so I will definitely look into that.
Yeah, it's weird. Actually, there's like more than one like complete like plugin solution for. I think Unity actually bought one, if I remember right. It might be. No, I'm gonna say the wrong one.
I think it's Bolt.
Is it Bolt?
I think Bolt was the one they bought. Yeah, that you could sort of officially download as an official package now. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about your project, like specifically like pointing out, or any other things that you think are noteworthy about it? Like, here's another question. If you don't want to just go off the open-ended question that I just posed, what are the dots? So, like, I noticed one of the players sees these like sort of dots on the ground sometimes.
Oh yeah, so that's actually tied to the two different vessels. So that's the old vessel. He has the ability to see which platforms are like solid, because some of the platforms the younger vessel will fall through. So the younger vessel is able to jump through this puzzle, but he doesn't know which ones he can jump on. But the older vessel, since he knows the museum, knows which ones are safe. So you have to switch between the younger and the older vessel in order to properly navigate and put the artifacts into their correct displays.
Nice.
Yep. So yeah, like I think the two squares to the left that we just saw were open, which is why they went all the way around there. So.
Oh, yep.
Yep. So like they appear, but so you can see. I think the purple are the ones you can step on.
Yes.
Yep. See, it just fell.
He's like, which one can I go to again? So how do you know which platform to take which item to?
You go up to the platforms and it gives you the little description of it. So you try to match it based on the description, and then you know you got it all correct once you're able to actually leave the level. And if you didn't, you just kind of have to move them around. But I think they're all pretty clear. I know when I ran through it, I didn't have too many confusions.
Yeah, I had a friend who hadn't seen the game at all play through it, and I told him just read the descriptions, and he was able to get through it with relatively little difficulty.
Nice.
This one's one of my favorite assets. I really like that fish vessel. I don't know, I just like the texture on it. I think it looks very nice.
But our favorite is obviously the water buffalo.
Yes, he's the best. It's our studio logo, because he's kind of our mascot. Oh, I think it's to the left. There it is, the water buffalo. I just like how round he is.
Does every team have a studio name?
Generally, yes. We're generally supposed to have the team name. So our team name is the Curators, and then the game is Vessel.
Nice. So, but it's not like you don't have to do any like studio branding. You just have a name. Or do you?
Sure, I'm not 100% sure if we have to. I've always done it, and I've always like made a point to have that done. So I'm assuming we have to do it. I just do it whether it's a requirement or not, though. So
nice. Let's see, what else can I ask about? Seth, did you forward to me that list?
Oh, I got so distracted just doing the actual thing here. I did not. I think you actually asked all those questions that were on that list, if I remember right. So yeah.
We should talk about the Zen Zone and the loading screens. We haven't talked about those. I can't believe I forgot them.
Wow,
That'd be
It's been
great.
a busy day for me. So we have a feature in the game called the Zen Zone, which is basically just a gallery space. So you can go in and you can view all of the assets that are in the game, but there's no puzzle. There's no puzzle, there's no objective. All you do is you just pick up the objects and you can rotate them and interact with them in a way you wouldn't be able to in a museum. Because I'm sure everyone has gone to the museum, looked at something, and been like, wow, I want to pick that up, I want to look at it, I want to look inside of it, see what's going on. And you can't do that. Or you can, but only once. So here, you're able to pick things up and look at them and view them closer up and move them around and have more of an interaction with the objects than you would have in a traditional museum. Oh, I'm noticing in the chat someone mentioned VR. I know we definitely we would have loved to do VR, but having everything be online, couldn't do that. But I know I personally would have probably pushed for VR if we were in person for this
I
year.
definitely would have as well.
Yeah, it would have made so much sense. Oh yeah, so we've got the Zen zones, and the loading screen serves as like one of those smaller Zen zones, so you can look at an object and read about it and stuff while you're waiting.
Nice. Well, I think maybe we'll just move on to the next one. If you don't have anything else,
Yeah.
do you want to? Final
Nope.
thoughts, final words? Thanks so much for showing off your game.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us. Thank you to Seth. Thank you to Dr. Tetzloff and to the people over at Mia. Been a good project.
Awesome. Okay,
Yes, thank you.
so next we have One Teddy Lost, apparently by Puddle Jump Studios. And
Yes, that's correct.
I'm gonna play this this trailer, and then you can work on getting them in here.
Yes.
Let's just there. I think that'll just work. Wait, will it work? Let me just look at my stream here. Oh, I need to full screen. Okay, yes, it'll work as soon as I full screen it.
Is anyone out there? Is anyone still alive? Be entertained after the apocalypse.
was exciting. Who do we have?
Yeah, so it looks like our art lead is having troubles getting in, but I'm Connor Yarnott. I was the programming lead on the team.
Awesome.
Madeline Muckenhern. I'm the producer of One Teddy Lost as well as a programmer on the team.
And then the person we're waiting to get in is Aiden Gruber, and he was our art lead on the team.
Right.
Is this? I'm curious whether this will be too loud. It seems like maybe the volume mix on this YouTube video is a little bit louder than the last one. But so
Sure.
someone chime in if it seems like it's too loud and we can't hear the speakers over it. So why don't you guys talk about what specifically you did on this project and what you felt sort of most excited about or most proud of?
Sure. Yeah. Far and away, my favorite thing, the main thing I worked on for this project was our friendly monsters. And you saw them, that's a poster for them that just popped up there, our sound monster, but and they were briefly, shown up in our trailer too. But there's these 3 little monsters that you collect throughout the game that follow you around, and they all have different powers to help you solve puzzles to eventually, work your way to Stad Water Factory. It's an abandoned factory. To eventually reach your teddy bear at the end of the level. That's your goal, to rescue the bear. Your only friend in the post-apocalyptic world. But yeah, it was a ton of fun working on those. We have our sound monster. He does like this little sound blast that shatters glass. We'll see it soon here in the gameplay. And there's an electric monster that he'll glow, and he can power electrical systems. And then the water is a little portable water source to allow you to hydrate objects, as we've been seeing a bit here too.
Are all the
And then
posters that you see the tutorials?
Yes, that is correct.
Nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yes, that is correct.
I did want to throw out I was able to get in as well. I did want to throw.
We're hearing, I think, an echo. Someone's got the. Someone needs to put some headphones on. Maybe. So I was asking, just like what you were proud of and what you felt really accomplished about in the game. So.
For sure, yeah. So as the programming lead, kind of some like milestones that we really worked on as a team that like really things we set up like coding standards really early on in the project. And I think in general, like across the programming team, we were really good about reviewing code and making sure things are up to standard. And then we planned out systems, which is hard to do in a 9-month project because there's a lot of things that need to get done. And working through all of that and powering through like different design decisions. So we were able to set up like systems and like basic coding principles like polymorphism, for example, the powered objects that you see here, these generators and conveyor belts and electrical wires, as long as like our hydraulic lift and all these things that work together and all need to power on, but do things in different ways. As well as setting up, interactions and cutscenes and stuff like that was really nice to work on. And we had, a lot of talent like doing tech art and balancing narrative and different UI and working and balancing towards that. It was really cool to see it set up as the lead on that.
That sounds like a lot of planning. How did you go about and decide what the priorities would be? Like, what are the Did you feel like you were able to plan it all ahead, or was there a lot of modification?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of modification as it went. We work in an agile shop, right? So definitely changed a lot as we went, and things like our development. So we started with like an MVP. Right, and we had like this analysis of like all the stuff as a programming team that we could definitely get done as our minimum product, and that changed and evolved as we developed things, got to certain milestones, and hit certain areas as we hit like our December SGX, and then pushing forward to into this semester and over winter break, we made new milestones and new improvements towards goals, as well as we designed our game until probably early into late October, so we had a lot of development time of discussing what our game was going to be and working towards what our vision was. And then we got to a point where we finally decided on hydrating these capsules that turn into random wacky objects that you can just throw into water, or similar to a dinosaur foam capsule that you would use nowadays. And so, we had to come up with those mechanics, and then we built our friendly monsters on top of it. And things changed actively as we did, but we, fit them into our backlog, and we're able to adapt accordingly.
Nice. Do you want to talk about the pitch at all? Like, how different is what we're seeing from what you sort of initially kind of pitched?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in with that, I guess. Basically, I think we were pretty, like Connor was saying, we did have a lot of evolution as we were going. But I think at least sticking to like our sort of core goals for this game, what we were initially our overall kind of like vision for the project, that's pretty true to what we were initially going for, with one except just that, our initial idea for this was that it was also going to be kind of equally a stealth game. And as we were developing, that sort of fell away, and it kind of just became a little bit of there's like an encounter, like an enemy monster in the next room that we'll see here in our footage. But it's not the main focus of the game anymore. It's mostly just a puzzle game with just kind of like a little spice of, I don't know if I'd quite call it stealth. It's a little bit of, it's avoidance anyway. But just enough to give a bit of a jump scare, which does feed into our sort of light horror themes that we always have for the game.
I'm mesmerized by what's happening. Actually, like I'm like wanting to watch. Like, okay, what's happening here?
Sure. And there is our hostile monster.
Yep.
Yeah, and you'll see this heart rate monitors popped up in the corner of the screen, and this is sort of measuring the character's fear levels. And I think we wish we could have developed this a little bit more, but there's only so much time in a project like this. But yeah, it's our replacement. This fear, this heart rate monitor, it's a replacement for a health bar in the game. If the character becomes too scared, as indicated by that heart rate monitor beeping more and more frantically, the character will have to sort of reset earlier back in the level because they got too afraid and ran away. So
there are 3 possible monsters that you have, your little pets.
Yeah, that's correct.
Do you have to? So I guess here's maybe a question about scope. Like, how big is what you ended up making, and how is it divided up into levels or areas?
Yeah, we do have one continuous level, sort of, as you're sort of seeing here. And I think that was always kind of our idea. I mean, there's different areas. We have 3 separate main puzzles, and then a stealth area as well.
Nice. And do you use? I guess my question was going to be: do you use each of them in all 3 areas then?
It's sort of our idea with that is that sort of the mechanics build up. You first unlock the sound monster, and you use that to solve the first puzzle. And then the second puzzle, you unlock the electric monster, and you use mostly just the electric monster, minor use of the sound monster. It's supposed to teach mastery of the electric monster through that second puzzle. And then this final puzzle is our synthesis puzzle, where this is the only time you'll use your water monster. But you will use all 3 of these monsters to solve the puzzle. Which is our final puzzle.
So did you just convert a crate, into a tablet of water? Is that what was happening there?
Yeah,
Yep.
That was our dehydrator. Connor, maybe if you want to talk about that.
Nice.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, we have these little capsules that turn into boxes and fridges, as well as the wrenches to fix generators, and these little capsules that you throw into water. So kind of in our development, we were talking about this process of hydrating things different objects, and we ran into troubles with like space and moving. So our solution to this was to create a machine that does the reverse. So now, like for example, that big gap or just like that doorway, now we can fit a big box through that because we can condense it down into this small capsule that you hydrate, and now you can bring it into that room, and then you can use our water monster to hydrate it, and now you have a big box that we can traverse through a small hole, and it allows us to kind of mitigate resources across different parts of the level, and it influences our design a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a neat mechanic for sure. I like the idea of rehydrating the things that you've hydrated in or dehydrated in previous parts of the level. That's kind of fun. I'm not sure. Did I get sort of a statement of sort of what you were most proud of from all of you, or was it just? Did I miss someone? I guess is what I mean.
Aiden is up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about the delay there. Apparently, updating Discord is key. But hopefully all is well on my end now. But yeah, so as they filled in kindly for me, I was the art lead for the team here. And so I can touch on the art stuff a little bit after this, but I guess most proud for me is the fact that we shipped and made a game, and it's fully playable. There's a beginning, middle, and end. That always is pretty amazing. But I think too, we had a decently large scope that definitely was cut down. But with the time we had, I'm really proud of what came out and the synthesis of all the puzzles and mechanics.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised. It seems like there's a lot going on here, so it's interesting to hear that you just cut down stuff. Although, of course, you can always have a million ideas. I was going to ask about. I mean, I do want to hear you talk about art as well, but I was going to ask about the what engine is this built in? Is this Unity as well?
Yep. Yeah, this is sure. This is Unity. We use the universal render pipeline for this one.
Okay.
But yeah, with that, I can roll into brief art discussion. So, as someone pointed out in chat earlier, they guessed it with the posters. Some big inspirations for us was Fallout and Bioshock. But we really wanted to nail that kind of kid-friendly horror type style where it's dark and moody, suggestive of the apocalypse, but we didn't want to rely on, rated M tactics to make a game scary, because obviously with SGX being open to the public, that's something we wanted to avoid. But also, I personally find it more interesting when you can make something spooky or unsettling without relying on those elements.
You guys mentioned having a beginning, middle, and end. So there's a story that's happening, and is it? I guess my question is there a cutscene at the end? Did you build an ending?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, Connor can go ahead on that.
It's a spoiler, I know.
Yeah, so there's kind of an end cutscene, essentially it's showing you that you solved the puzzle correctly. That's so you'll see it here in just a second as well. And once I power this generator, it'll go off, and it's kind of our end kind of cutscene. We planned on doing more, but it was kind of tight with our deadlines.
Found the teddy bear.
Yeah, and then this leads into our end game kind of gameplay of the credits roll, and we're done. We solved all the puzzles, and we found our teddy bear.
Nice. Now, are you actually back at a previous part of the level at this point?
This is the first part of the level. This is the first part where we encounter kind of the fear mechanic, and we hydrate the sound monster, and we kind of come back to the elevator that you couldn't access before, that is now powered and open.
And contains your teddy bear.
Correct, yes.
Nice. it's nice that we got to see like the whole game in this like gameplay.
Yeah, and this is just the credits rolling too. So, do you have any other questions for us that we can help answer, or?
So I think did I ask about like the makeup of your team, like how many programmers versus artists and designers? I mean, we're kind of seeing that here
For sure.
actually, but
Yeah. So we had 6 artists and 5 programmers.
okay.
Is it? Yes, that's correct. Sorry. So we had a kind of like a wide range of talent too. UI programming. We had like a tech artist on our team who did really well. We had some like we had a game designer who kind of committed to some of the game design and worked on some of the narrative. We had a lot of talent for environment art and concept art and like our poster art that you see in game, as well as like the marketing stuff that we do, as for like logos and poster and all of that. And then we of course had our audio team, which was really useful to have from Berkeley.
Cool. If there was anything that you could go back and do differently, what would you pick?
I think for me personally, I think maybe a little bit less time. Like I think our team struggled a lot with just like committing to development. So I definitely think we should start developing sooner. So like we spent a lot of time with like design of the game, and now it's important. I think it's important to test out mechanics and see how they work together as well. So that was where I would start, but Aiden and Maddie might have different opinions.
Right. I'm actually going to follow that up just a bit by saying our big sort of slogan for ourselves at one point was designed by developing, and there was a big push for that. And I think once we really hopped on that train, we actually took off. And I agree with Connor that I think we would have benefited from, figuring out how to do that just a little bit earlier in the year. I think we would have been able to increase our scope just a little bit more than what we had.
And I'll be boring and mirror those 2 sentiments as well. I guess for me, more personally, it'd be on the side of really committing to a visual style and developing that. There's a lot of unknown earlier on in the dev cycle where styles just weren't matching up, and so it really started to come together nicely when we had one big visual style Bible or art Bible that just said, this is what we're trying to imitate, make things look like this, and that really sped up development as well.
So how long did it take before you had that Bible, do you think?
Not sure if I want to share. No, I actually no, definitely not that late. I want to say it was late fall semester. I got the simple answer is too late.
Sure. Well, cool. I mean, congrats. You made a game.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry for my issues earlier in the stream, but thank you so much for hosting this.
No worries. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Okay, I think we're going to move on to the next team.
Yeah, next up is Inconvenience Store.
Awesome. And I will just play the trailer first. Which I think I have to... Yeah, okay, here we go. Oh, but let's start that. Let's try one. Actually try and take a second here to turn off autoplay as well, if I can figure out how to do it. Maybe I can't figure out how to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure for a playlist. It always goes on to the next one, right?
Yeah, I guess. Okay, well, we'll see when it gets to the end. Okay, who do we have? Please introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Alex. I'm one of the systems programmer of Inconvenience Store here.
Hello, my name is Joseph Stransky. I'm the producer for Inconvenience Store.
just two of you?
Yep, it's just the two of us here.
Cool. Tell me a little bit about your team. Like, how many people did you have, and what was sort of the makeup of folks?
So absolutely. I gotcha. We had 12 people. We had 6 artists and 6 programmers, so it was very even. We had some good organization between us all, and it was very even workload, and it was nice to have an equal amount of people.
Now, you introduced yourself as a producer, correct?
I did, yeah. I was also on the art side.
Okay, I was gonna ask, like, is that on the art side or the development side?
Yeah, I was helping with the art the whole time.
Nice. And so tell me a little bit about the game itself. Like, what are you doing? What's the goal? How many players? It seems like there are multiple players going on.
I can do a little bit of an intro. So Inconvenience Store is a game where players compete in an assortment of mini games as employees in a grocery store called Happy Mart. The game starts in the break room, which you saw before, where people can join the game, customize their character, and things like that. The game is largely focused on multiplayer. It can handle up to 8 players total. All of the objects in the environment have physics applied to them and make the game kind of crazy and fun, like you can see in the video. We've got a total of 5 mini games, as well as a sandbox level that takes place in the full store that I believe you'll see in the end of the video. That's the basic rundown.
One of the things we should mention outright here is I believe this gameplay video is using networked. It's one of the examples of the networked gameplay. Basically, last semester here, we spent a lot of time trying to get the game working online of some sort. Ended up being a little more glitchy in the end than what we wanted, but you can see for the most part, a lot of the minigames do function. There's just been some issues from time to time with if you don't have like an ideal connection.
Sure. So what were you kind of personally most proud of in the game?
For me personally, I was proud of the completion that we reached, the somewhat of the polish that we reached. Everything links together really nice, and we had a full game. I'm almost more used to having games where you feel like, oh man, I wish we could have got to this or this, but I really enjoyed how much we brought this one together as a team.
I think I would agree with that. I was very happy overall with just like how wacky we were able to make the game. Just the fact that going around like the sandbox level that we have is just so much fun. You can just go around, look at all the items we have, all the funny little dialogue, all the every product is labeled with just silly little titles, and just the fact you can just go around, whack people, grab NPCs, throw them around, slap your friends, drag them across the room. It was just so much fun to explore around and experiment with the game.
That whole aspect of kind of the physics, grabbing things and throwing them is just always fun.
Yeah, that was the main reason why we accepted, or this was the pitch that won in the end, is everyone's just like, we want a fun game that we'll have a lot of enjoyment out of, depending on whether or not or it doesn't really matter how far we get in the game, progress-wise.
I saw the cars moving on this level. Tell me about that a little bit. Are there sort of environmental, I guess they're AI things that are happening on all the levels, or is it just the cars?
Yeah, so
we got a few. Yeah, Alex, you're probably more suited to talk about that than me.
Yeah, one of the things that we ended up adding in one of the other levels you'll see is we have NPCs that go around. They actually request items, and the whole minigame is dragging them to the aisle that they need to go to. So we do have a few elements that kind of act separately from the game itself. So we have these car events which they'll pull out and kind of drive away. I don't know if it's in the game or if it's scrapped in the end, but we do have a cop car that comes and chases another car across right in front of the doors. So there's a good chance you can get hit by it if you're trying to put a cart away. The NPCs will just they'll randomly go around to different spots in the store. We were really excited that we got that to work.
I shouldn't laugh, but someone's falling through the first player crate.
Yeah, that's the specifically one of the buggier parts of networking is sometimes loading the scenes glitched a little bit. If we had more time, we definitely would polish it up a lot more.
Do you know what multiplayer backend you're using?
We're using the Unity add-on Mirror.
Okay.
Sure. I was the main person who actually did the networking. No one in our group was familiar with networking before, so I was the poor sap that had to get sucked into it, and I gave it my best, but I still think there's a lot of things I could have improved upon.
I absolutely have to hand it to you, though, Alex. For what we had and the time that we had, the time that you had to make this work, it works pretty well for what we got done.
And Mirror is an open source project, right? Am I remembering right?
Yeah, the community behind it's really great. They have a Discord server that I would go in from time to time and get some help in. And there's a decent amount of documentation too, which has been pretty helpful.
Nice. Yeah, we've got one guy in. So the MSP Game Dev Slack has a Unity channel, and there's one guy in there who's been exploring a bunch of different networking libraries and stuff, and he was championing Mirror. I haven't played with it at all, but it's kind of the same API as like the old, like what Unity had, before they deprecated it.
Yeah. I think they basically just took it and tried upgrading it.
Yep. I love the trampoline also. It's great.
Yeah, one of the things we were trying to do is add as many interactables into the scene as possible. One of our original plans would have things like, hey, there's a little crane game you could play. That was one of the things that ended up getting cut, but the trampoline was a big one. We had moving platforms, rotating platforms, just a lot of fun things. They're just easy to mess around with.
So I'm obliged to ask you, like, what was something that you would have done differently if you could go back and do it again?
I can hit on that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Joseph.
What I would have done differently was in the beginning of our first semester and kind of all the way through it, we were very indecisive about what we wanted to do. We had a lot of discussions, a lot of whole class. We'd sit and talk about things. And it definitely got to the point where we were all like, okay, we have to make decisions now. But we kind of struggled with that for a few months. And I say not even, probably late first semester, maybe second semester, we finally got into the rhythm of it. But I think if we would have hit that rhythm earlier, we could have gotten a lot more done.
Attention shoppers, we care.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
That's kind of a refrain. I think we've heard that a few times now. Taking a while to get started, or just taking a while to really firm up what you're going to build. Talk about the pitch a little bit. Like, what was your what did you have during the pitch, and how different is it from what we're seeing now?
Yeah, I think the pitch was actually pretty similar to our final product. The original pitch was essentially a collection of minigames in a grocery store with all of these physics-based things, kind of like what we have in the game. It was relatively open-ended, and I think we kind of stuck to it for the most part. Not much was changed.
Things are going to get
Yeah, I don't know if Alex, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the only major thing that really changed was kind of like the mini-game ideas. I think initially we didn't really have many plans for them, but then the next 2 semesters were us basically just, here is the mini-game we want, let's work on this, break this down. So those are like the one things that weren't really planned, but everything else matched what we had pretty much for T.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, so the mini games all have a score. Is that what I'm seeing? So that's like how your team wins or whatever.
Yeah, each mini game has its own individual score, and then in the break room here, you have the overall score. So then once you reach, I believe it's once you play 4 mini games in the circuit mode, then it brings you to the final results screen, which then uses those overall number of mini games won to then put you in first, second, third.
Nice.
I saw a good question in the chat here. It was how were you able to stay organized as a team, especially with the amount of art involved? That was actually kind of a big thing. We used the Microsoft program Azure DevOps for a while. We used that to just stay organized, everyone put in tasks. A lot of Google spreadsheets as well, and especially on the art side, we had multiple spreadsheets saying this is this asset and this is the person working on it. And then that went through things like the assets made, the assets textured, and the assets in the engine. We had a lot of organization, especially with the amount of textures that we had on like all of the products in the store. There's just so many. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of our projects. How good we were able to communicate and stay organized.
And what was the tool you said? Azure DevOps?
Azure DevOps, yeah, it's one of the Microsoft programs.
Yeah. That's
very similar to Trello, just a little more, I guess, programmery, I guess. A lot more numbers and values on the screen than here is a board and tables.
okay, interesting. Yeah, that's one of the few of that kind of thing that I haven't used, I think. Great. Well, thanks for coming on. Do you have any last words? Anything you want to point out?
I do see a question in chat here that just says if each programmer did a separate minigame. Yes. We ended up kind of like juggling them a little bit more towards the end, but for the most part, we kind of sectioned them off, so that way each programmer had their own thing to work on.
Interesting. Did you have, before you kind of decided to do that, did you already kind of have the basic like movement mechanics down and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, we sort of split it up, so like me and Zenovi in chat here, we were working together on getting the main player movement. We had other people working on the base game systems, people working on audio and menus, and from there, once we got the base systems in, then we started splitting off a bit more and being like, okay, you work on this mini game, you work on the audio system more, and just splitting apart from there.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for so much for having us and showing our game. It was great to be involved in this, and it was wonderful to be here.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to show the trailer for the next game.
Yeah. Next up is Curse of Janksbury.
Awesome.
Things are going to get jank.
In the town of Janksbury, you gotta stop the jank. Use the Jankify Gun to make it not jank no more. It's the Curse of Janksbury at SGX.
We had a suggestion in the Discord chat. Once you get the gameplay video going, if you right click, you can select loop, and that way it won't jump on. So
let's do it. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not actually looking at the Discord chat at all. That's the one chat that I don't have visible.
Yeah.
Because I'm using it to stream, so I can't see that one.
Oh, well, I'll fill you in when it comes in.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Who do we have? Please introduce yourselves.
All right. Hi, I'm Jacob Bjerknes. I was the lead programmer on the project, and then we have also got, I think, Michael T here.
Hello, I'm Michael Tronus. I'm the character and modeler, and also resident hype man.
That's definitely true.
That was me.
Yeah, no, that was actually
that was another Michael.
Another Michael, yeah, that's what I was about to say. But yeah.
What was the makeup of your team? How many people did you have on what sort of disciplines?
Probably most teams here, it's 6 artists, 6 programmers.
Okay. And
yeah.
How did you split up your tasks?
Yeah, and we also, I got to give a shout out to Berkeley. We also had some help in Berkeley doing all the audio stuff and all the voice work here in these cutscenes as well. But in terms of splitting up the tasks, I think probably Michael could explain the art side a little bit more. But for programming, we tried to go for sort of like an agile type an approach. So we were working with Jira and trying to break out tasks as best as we could, but it was pretty loosey-goosey, I would say, in terms of just like especially the first half of the project, trying to figure out where it was going. I don't know, Michael, if you want to chime in for the art.
Yeah, for the art side, we pretty much just kind of did a quick roundtable where we just went through, just kind of talked about like what's everybody's like preferred area of expertise, like whether that's character modeling, asset modeling, environment, etc., etc., and then we just kind of dished out tasks from there.
Nice. I mean, you mentioned Jira, so this is a question that I have personally been thinking about lately. So, like, what was the scope of your average Jira ticket? Was it like something that you could do in an hour? Was it something that would take you days? What was what were you aiming for? And then what actually did you use?
Yeah, that's kind of tough because I don't know. I think most of the time it ended up kind of being like general high level things, and it was kind of getting explored in terms of like, okay, how do we actually implement this? I don't know. I was kind of two minds of it because coming out of it, I don't know. I think maybe I was just potentially not the greatest like lead. I didn't have a lot of experience with it or something, or like, I felt like maybe we could have broken up the tasks a little bit better, but it ended up being a lot of like, okay, make this gun, pick up objects, recreate the gravity gun from Half-Life 2, basically, right? And so that wasn't the greatest, direction to give someone, but then when we kind of started figuring out, okay, maybe this is how we'll approach it, then the task would start getting broken down a little bit more. So it was sort of a collective thing where we got together, the programmers, we would all get together and talk about it and contribute to the tickets. So it was very organic, very much opposed to a lot of the other software projects I've worked on. So that was sort of an interesting aspect of this project.
So okay, I want to hear about so many things about this already. I don't know why I have so many more questions, but tell me about the cutscenes.
Yeah, I wish.
So,
man, yeah, go for it, Michael.
Michael H., if you're listening to this, hi. But right now, all the cutscenes were hand drawn by Michael Hillinger, one of our artists who painstakingly worked about a month on those, I think, give or take. And yeah, he was also the person who was mostly in charge of the narrative, and he was very proud of those cutscenes when they came out.
Is there essentially a narrative like throughout the game? Like, do you have kind of like a beginning, middle, end kind of thing? Like,
yeah, it's a very light narrative. So you play as Marcus. You played as a troubled teen in the town of Janksbury. Right now, Janksbury is celebrating its annual Jank Fest, which celebrates all the weird things that happen throughout the year. And it also has its own mascot known as Ippy the Iguana. And Marcus, being the rebellious teen he is, believes this is animal cruelty and tries to free Ippy. However, it turns out Ippy is a psychic iguana who can alter reality and once he is freed, he is also very vengeful and really messes up Janksbury. And now, Marcus, now feeling remorse of his actions, decides to take up the Jank gun, or Jank blaster. I don't know if I can say gun, I'm sorry. But Marcus must now defeat Ippy and restore Janksbury to its former glory. Or just get attacked by a monster, as I just saw right there.
So
I had to do a believable run through.
That was intentional to show the death animation.
This was all planned out.
It was.
So yeah, like I'm loving the interesting environment with just stuff kind of thrown everywhere. Do you want to say anything about that? Do you want to talk about like who decided what this was going to look like, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's definitely was sort of a thing that was decided from very early on. I mean, this is kind of a mashup game in a way, a mashup game of two games that don't exist. And so we had these two disparate ideas. We had sort of an idea about like stealth, sneaking around, and then like sort of this idea about like this crazy, I guess, I think it was Superliminal was the game that was sort of the inspiration, kind of like goofy environment where you're doing these puzzles and things like that. And so that was in from kind of the get-go, and then it sort of just ended up driving a lot of the things mechanically in terms of like what you're seeing here with all the things being scaled and shrunk and like moved around and all of that. It just kind of it paired well to have sort of this like jankiness of the world, and then the jankiness of like the mechanics and what you're doing to the things in the world.
Somebody asked in chat for a definition of jank. Could you
Definition.
Could you definitively say what jank means in this context?
As far as programming, it means a lot of that's a feature, not a bug situations. I can tell you that much.
On the art side, it was just how weird can we make this thing look?
All right, so you were definitely going for weird. Was part of the design criteria.
Yeah, and like I would say, it's kind of like a sarcastic, irreverent sort of tone as well. Like I know if you actually play through it yourself, you'll get way more of the full hit of the flavor of the game. I think, especially the cutscenes and everything. And there's a lot of little like dialogue lines happening where he's sort of the main character's dropping one-liners and whatnot. So it was definitely like pushing for that sort of tone.
Yeah, I gotta jump in. This is Professor B. A real big shout out to the folks at Berklee College of Music. They did all the voice acting for this, and it is top notch. It really, they found these characters and really ran with them. I think it sells the cutscenes tremendously well.
100%, yeah. Once those got added in, I was like, wow, this is a game now. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the cartoons are fantastic, so it really adds, I think. Okay, is there anything that you would definitely want to do differently if you had it all to do over again?
I know like one thing I would definitely do is like in the beginning we had a lot of ideas. In fact, I would actually say we had too many ideas, and our original alpha build and the first half of production just kind of had too much in it. So by the second half, we had a lot of fat to kind of trim down to finally make a more focused game.
Can you give me some examples?
Actually, Jacob, I think you can explain some of that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know, and this is maybe one of the things I'm probably most proud of in terms of just the whole team and everything coming together was just, we pretty much threw the entire project out halfway through. So we kind of spent the first half of production being like, all right, we're going to try out this idea, and then it sort of didn't work out, and so we really overhauled the design of everything, and I don't know, I mean, almost everything got changed in some ways. It was quite dramatic, but it ended up really improving the game in the end. Especially just like mechanically, like it used to be kind of like you almost had full Maya or like 3D modeler kind of app control over things in the game. So you could, you know, rotate and move and scale and like all separately and on all axes. And so it was just kind of, it was overwhelming and not approachable and like not super fun. And so, yeah, just kind of bring that back and like rethinking it, and like now it's okay, you've got this beam that you kind of move things around with, sort of simplifying that interaction system and like just shooting something with a projectile to manipulate it into like a very specific designer driven state where like it's only ever going to be in this particular rotation and particular scale. So it did a lot for our making things just like come together and work, especially in terms of level design. And like you can see this little puzzle here where like it's specifically rotated so that you can climb up and get over this fence, right? So that was something that was actually pretty complicated for someone to do previously because they had to use all of these different controls to do that like simple action, and it wasn't as fun to interact with.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine that getting complicated fast. Like, what button controls which direction? Like, yeah, how are you? Yep. Rebuilding Unity inside your game.
Yeah, that's the exact term that came up a couple of times. Yeah, it's like we're just kind of doing the gizmos from Unity. Yep. So yeah, much improved from what it was.
So are all the scaling that you can do, like that's all canned? Like you basically are just toggling, or?
Yeah, exactly. And it is like it's basically tuned per item. So you can see you shoot the spoon here, and I guess the idea is kind of like it shrinks down, and so it's kind of useless. Like you can't do much with that spoon. And so you go around and you find this one. This one scales pretty large and rotates into sort of a way that actually helps you cross this gap if you sort of put two and two together. So it allowed, in terms of designing the puzzles, like for a much more tailored sort of a thing, instead of just like complete sandbox with no sort of guide rails, if you will.
Yep. Yeah, I see the transform, like it's in the same position too once you press that button. That's cool. Anything else that you want to say, want to point out before we move on to the next project?
Why did I design my Jank world to be so easily traversable?
Yeah, I've got a general gripe with version control systems that I just would like to get out in the air here a little bit of, like, if someone's out there who's thinking of creating a startup to sort of create like the Apple approach of like user-friendly version control for beginners, I feel like that's going to make some major money. Because we went through two different version control systems, and I think both of them sort of failed the team from what I gathered from just talking to everybody and the amount of issues we ran into. So anyways,
What were the two that you used?
Git and SVN, and Git was with LFS. So.
Got it. What was the one that you ended up with?
SVN was what we transferred to try to, have locks and something like a little, so the scene would get locked and people wouldn't be stepping on each other's toes and blowing away work as easily, but it's still, I don't know, I have a big passion personally for like really intuitive tools. So for me, it was just frustrating to see the team struggle with it, and just there's so many areas I feel like could be easily improved on. I know maybe like Perforce probably solves these things, or maybe plastic SCM or whatever. So maybe we could try those in the future, but overall not a great experience for version control.
Well, you definitely stepped backwards in terms of time.
yeah
SVN is...
for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, congratulations. Good game. Very exciting.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you, and remember, we are Jank Inc. We are the future rulers of the earth. Bow before us.
All right. What do we have next, Seth?
Next up, we have Supernova Stadium.
All right, I'm gonna play the trailer.
Ippy the Iguana.
Let's. Who do we have?
Hi, I'm Thomas Nordrum. I was the lead programmer for Supernova Stadium, representing Boneless Chicken Studios. And with me I have...
And I'm Gigi Reed, art lead for Supernova Stadium, representing Boneless Chicken Game Studios.
Boneless Chicken?
Boneless Chicken, that is a fun story of how we got together as a team.
By eating chicken together?
No, actually, it was a... Do you want me to go into the story
Tell me the
quickly?
Story. I need the story now.
Okay, the story of Boneless Chicken Game Studios is when we were first trying to break down our pitches, and one of our programmers was talking about a story of where he, in high school, talked to one of his teachers, and he was like, I'm going to be a game designer. And his teacher said he would never be a game designer. And one thing that they had in difference of each other is the teacher liked boneless chicken. And so the programmer, Chris Allender, vowed that he would try to put boneless chicken in every game he ever made. And during that time, one of our pitches was a fantasy game, and so we were considering slime enemies, little gelatinous jellies.
Everyone's here.
And then we decided chicken. It's a gelatinous chicken.
Wait, is that a chicken running around as well?
Oh, no. There's actually there is a lot of hidden chickens within our game. There's hidden chickens in the audience. There's hidden chicken in the plants.
It was someone else's recording footage, right?
I love it.
Yeah, there are certainly chickens all over the place.
Okay, tell me about your team makeup. Like, who did you have, and how did you break down your tasks?
Right. So the overall class got broken up into two teams. Since our game was focused more on an action type genre as opposed to a puzzle type genre, we got tasked where we got set with one extra programmer. So we had 6 programmers and 5 artists. Other than that, yeah, our producer was on the art side. I'm on the programming side, and Gigi's on the art side. But that's where that's basically the breakdown of what we had for our team.
Me, Thomas.
And how did you break up tasks during the project?
For breaking up tasks, well, the first thing that we had to figure out is how are we going to do networked multiplayer, and similar to some other games, we went with Mirror. I was not in charge of the networking. I dabbled with it, but I did not. I was not in charge of it. We had another programmer in charge of that. So kudos to him for spearheading that and learning what needed to get learned to get this working. Other than that, we focused on how the shooting mechanics work. So we had another programmer focusing on the shooting mechanics. We had a couple level designers. The level designer baton got passed around a couple times, had several iterations. I even held that baton at one point. We had some other programmers working on UI and other various smaller features. And then if we had, I mostly just kind of shifted around wherever we needed to be. I never had one particular task I worked on for too long. I tried to stay flexible and help the team out wherever they needed to be.
Nice. Would you say that was similar on the art side?
Yes, so for the most part, a lot of us were floaty, and then people found what they were meant to do within this game. So we had a dedicated blaster artist who helped concept 3D model, and he got a little bit of help for texturing, but for the most part he did them. He actually had a first batch in the first semester, and over winter break he's like, I don't like these, and he redid all of them, and they're just fantastic. So this is a game in which everyone kind of just grew in what they could do. I learned how to rig a player model. I actually designed the player concept and created the 3D model for it. the textures were made by someone else. It was a lot
the
of
marksman rifle is very interesting.
people
because
do
you'll
one
either,
thing,
like,
pass
give
it to
a really
someone
small
else
enough
who
shot and
is interested or
but,
has
like, you'll
expertise
shoot,
in
miss
doing
a
the
bunch,
thing.
and then like on the 5th ricochet, it'll just come back.
Talk
and
a
hit
little
the
bit
other
about the
person, like,
gameplay.
oh,
So it's
I know.
obviously a multiplayer shooter.
I didn't mean to do that.
What like sort of systems are in play?
I'm
like
sure,
what
like,
differentiates
the
it
shotgun
from
absolutely
sort of
melts if you
other
actually got a ricochet
multiplayer
with it.
shooters?
Right, yeah. So the big thing that we wanted to focus on was the ricocheting, because we did not find that we did not think of many games that used ricocheting bullets as a core mechanic. We saw it in as a gimmick in some cases. Like, for example, one of the main inspirations was the Exotica Gun Hard Light from Destiny 2, where its bullets would ricochet off surfaces. So we thought that, hey, it would be really cool to make a game that entirely focused on that one particular mechanic, as opposed to having it as a gimmick. And so that's what we set out to do. We had a lot of planning and strategizing from the get-go, even before we had fully determined that this was the game we were going with, on how to best create an environment around creating the ricochet mechanics. So like some of the things that we focus on is making sure that the level design is easy and intuitive to use. Like the walls need to be placed in such a way that it is obvious for the player to want to shoot off of the wall instead of just shoot directly at their opponent. Because if the whole goal is to ricochet your bullets, then we want that to be the most effective strategy. And in helping with the ricocheting being the most effective strategy, we implemented a damage scaling system where if you attempted to directly shoot at your opponent, it would do a very small amount of damage. As you can see, sometimes when you hit your opponent, you only do 5 or 3 damage. But if you get a ricochet, if you get a single ricochet, it'll do an increasing amount of damage depending on which blaster you're using. And then if you get 2, 3, or 4 ricochets, if your blaster can go that high, you'll get a lot more damage. So it really incentivizes trying to go for those ricochet shots as much as you possibly can. Another thing that we wanted to focus on is we kind of understood from the meta of Destiny 2 when Hardlight was very strong that what players tended to do was shoot at the floor right before their opponent's feet. And we did not like that as a game strategy because it's essentially just shooting at your opponent, but at their feet instead of at their head. So we made it so that the floor was differentiated from the walls in such a way that the damage would not increase if you used the floor as the initial bounce point. So all those various systems in place that we tried to set up so that the ricocheting gameplay was the core part of the multiplayer experience. That would make gunfights take way too long.
That's neat. And was that part of the pitch then?
Like unless someone went to recharge you.
Some of the finer details like the damage scaling and the floor ricocheting, I don't think were part of the initial pitch, but I when I saw this pitch, I went and expanded upon it. When we were narrowing down to our final 2 pitches, this was something that I wanted to push for, and so I expanded upon it and added several ideas that led to some of what is in the game here with the floor not counting towards the damage and some of the other systems. But like the generic idea was a first-person shooter with ricocheting bullets, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, that's cool. Tell me about what you're most proud of about the game.
Personally, I'm most proud of being on the programming side, the network. Even though I wasn't spearheading the network, it's really cool that, especially with this year, with many other games working on multiplayer games, that we were able to get a multiplayer game working. Networking and or online multiplayer and online networking isn't something that gets a dedicated course plan or any form of formal teaching. It's very impromptu and figure it out for yourself. So it was a tough task to overcome, but we figured that with a more simplistically designed game where it's mostly the movement and the shooting systems, that there's not too much else to bog us down, that we could focus on trying to make it a multiplayer game, that we'd have enough time and resources to dedicate enough time to learn how to do multiplayer properly. So that's something that I'm most proud of, is that we were able to get this to work somewhat effectively.
The thing I'm most proud of is our scope. We took on this game, it was a line. first-person shooter multiplayer. You bounce it. It was called Bouncy Blasters. You just bounced it. And we stuck with it, and we were never scared of, we have too much, we have to cut it down. We have too much, we have to cut it down. There's too much, we don't have time. We were able to just work at a very relaxed, intuitive pace every single semester, almost every single week. It was just, by the second semester, all the programmers were like, we're just polishing, bug fixing, like, that is one of the most encouraging things to hear, is your programmers are bored near the end of the project.
Yeah, we even got to the point where we started adding some features that probably didn't need to be in there, but we figured, hey, it'd be cool to have. Like, I think we even have Twitch integration somehow working with the game. Yeah, so not something that you really see a whole lot with first-person shooters, but we figured, hey, we have the time, we have the resources. One guy really wanted to work on it, so he went for it.
Nice. What is the Twitch integration? Like, can people...
The audience is able to vote on different things, such as everyone gets their magazines refilled, or I think movement speed is changed. I cannot remember, but
I think there's one that just launches people into the air. Is one of them?
Yes, that is one.
Now we just need good death footage.
What was the engine? What was this built in?
This was built in Unity. We figured that some of us kind of acknowledge that Unreal is a little bit better for first-person shooters, but almost all the programmers had a vastly much more experience in Unity than we did in Unreal, and so we felt a lot more comfortable attempting Unity with a multiplayer game, even with Unity's discontinued multiplayer support. Luckily, Mirror is a thing, community-led, so that was pretty cool.
How do you switch guns?
There's a question from the Twitch chat of, were there more levels at some point?
There are, yes, we had, so our initial level designer made a small map, and it was really congested, and so we were like, you need to make this bigger, and so I suggested that he make it 3 times bigger, so it went from like a 100 by 100 unit area to like a 300 by 300 unit area, and that really helped, at least with the congestion. It created other problems, such as now the map was way too open, and that it was very hard to use the walls to ricochet. Luckily, that's both ends of the spectrum, and we can narrow it down from there. Like, we know what's too hot, and we know what's too cold, and we can find what's right in the middle. At about halfway through the project, he passed it off to me, and I worked on separating his level into 3 smaller sectioned levels. That way we could reuse a lot of the work that he did. And I was able to finesse some of the walls and adjust them so that the ricocheting was a lot more intuitive and it was easier to use. There were a few wide open spaces where you would see an opponent go, I have no option to hit this person other than to shoot directly at them. And that was the biggest thing that we struggled with early on. Then our environment artist, Ryan, took one of the 3 maps that I had designed, and he just overhauled it with this beautiful art that you see here. So this is the only map that looks as good as this. We do have other maps in the game, but they don't have as pretty of an environment. They're flat, a single floor. The walls are in there, but like the surrounding background and environment walls are essentially just gray boxes. But it is technically playable with both game modes. It just doesn't look nearly as nice.
Okay, maybe that was.
Tell me about the game modes.
So we have 2 game modes. The first one is Team Standoff. It's basically your traditional team deathmatch. 2 teams battling each other. 1 kill is 1 point. First to reach the score cap or have more points at the end of the time wins. The second one is similar to Hardpoint. If you've played Call of Duty, there will be a capture zone that moves around after a period of time, and you earn points by standing in the capture zone. Eliminating your opponent isn't a necessary part of earning points, but if 2 people of opposite teams are in the capture point at the same time, neither team will earn points until one of them leaves or is eliminated. So it's basically, we figured that we had some issues with map size throughout the course of the project, and with the amount of players that we had testing, it is up to 6 players right now. But we had some issues with the map being too big for the amount of players that we had, so we figured that if we can direct the players towards an objective, that should help up a lot of the walking around time and introduce players into combat more frequently. So that's where I mostly worked on creating a pretty simplistic second game mode that was objective based that could guide players towards where they should be heading.
That's cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to plug before we move on?
Yeah, we are attempting to get this onto Steam. Still working on it, not quite done yet. Have some things we need to fix, and Steam has their process that we need to go through, but we are attempting to get that onto Steam, and we're hoping to get that in by at least June, middle of June. If you
nice.
recharge, that would
well, congrats. This is a good looking game.
But thank you, and thanks for everybody who helped organize this.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Okay, what do we have next up?
Someone went to recharge, you run to the corner and just like.
Next up, we have Dawn of the Falconeer.
All right, and I'm just gonna play the trailer.
Yeah.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically.
Of course.
Oh my god.
When I finally became a scout, they told me to keep an eye on the mountain. It had been accumulating magic for generations, but we never knew when or what would happen. So, you get caught up in the smaller things, the happier things. Even a mountain can just get ignored. And then one day, out of nowhere, it'll make itself known again. When I finally became a scout, they told me to keep an eye on the mountain. It had been accumulating for generations.
All right, who do we have here to talk about this game?
Or what would happen? Rescue.
Hey Martin, my name is Zach. I'm the producer for Dawn of the Falconeer. Oh, I was gonna ask if we could take the first minute
Oh yeah, okay, yes, I can do that. Let me just rewind it actually. Yeah, sorry about that. We can just watch this first minute.
Yep, no worries.
Cool.
You're okay.
Like, I think it's the old one.
So it's the previous video.
Oh, it is. Sorry. Shoot. Okay, give me a second. Sorry.
Yes, it was that one. That one starts with the game intros with our animatic. So
Yeah, no, okay, so it's the taking flight.
it's about a minute, and you know, it won't take much. It's got some new content there.
Okay.
interrupt again. This is an earlier video from our fall presentation. The gameplay walkthrough that you were previously watching that started with that kind of same thing you had seen was the correct video. It contains some of our gameplay in it as well.
Okay, let me just this one.
Magic had
So
affected
it's
Holly.
if you were to go back. Yep, this is it.
Okay, so we didn't watch this one?
We did watch this one, Zach. This is the gameplay walkthrough, isn't it?
Oh, you know what? Maybe we didn't.
Oh, no,
No, we
You're right,
didn't
exactly.
watch this. Sorry. I must have.
So
just
you should
skipped
be able to
too
just play
far.
from here, Martin. It'll be okay. We'll just let the animatic play out, and then we can go right into the Q&A.
Got it.
When I finally became a scout, they told me to keep an eye on the mountain. It had been accumulating magic for generations, but we never knew when or what would happen. So, you get caught up in the smaller things, the happier things. Even a mountain can just get ignored. And then one day, out of nowhere, it'll make itself known again. They told me about the mountain. They didn't tell me about the wraiths. Creatures born of magic and nightmares. Despite the warnings and our experience, we were taken completely by surprise. But I was rescued. Magic had affected Horu, and he's the only reason I'm still alive. Even if my rescue flight was short-lived.
Alrighty, cool.
Yeah, that looks
All right,
great.
cool. And that concludes our animatic. We're happy to take the Q&A.
Well, let's introduce ourselves first. So Zach's the producer, and I'm lead VFX artist. I'm Jose Estrada. I'm the lead VFX artist and technical artist. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, and then I'm Nate. I'm the lead programmer for Dawn of the Falconeer. So.
Nice. How many people did you have on your team? Was it?
So we had 11 people. We had 6 artists and 5 programmers. So pretty even, just kind of like the other teams.
Yep. Cool. And how did you kind of break up your tasks among the different teams, or among the different people, rather? Sorry.
I think that kind of came down to us kind of separating into art
Sure.
and
So
programming.
one thing that was kind of nice for us. Oh,
there's a delay.
I think Zach's got a little bit of a delay.
Zach, your computer's been lagging.
Yeah, I'm almost certain. But so we broke our tasks out into art and programming. So the art tasks would be delegated from me to the other programmers, and then the art typically was ran through a combination of Zach, Jose, and Catherine. Catherine being our art lead.
Yeah. So as for like the art assets, Zach basically made most of the character assets, besides our wraith enemies, which were made by our artist. We had the character side, and we had the side. Joey was working on the level design for most of the year, and then towards the second semester is when the assets really started coming out. First, since the beginning, though, we were planning to have quite a few amount of animations, so we had created rigs for our characters early on, before the character models were done, using a tool called RP1, which really helped us speed up our rigging and animation process. And that let us have way more characters than you normally would be able to rig with a programming that. So yeah, our came out really well thanks to some really helpful tools we found. As for breaking up the tasks, it was sort of like agile. We asked people what they wanted to do and sort of divide the tasks.
Nice. Can you say more about your tools? Like, what was this built in? And
Yep. So this was made in Unreal Engine 4. The game is completely online co-op, so you can't complete the game without a second player friend to play it with. We use Unreal's networking as well as Steam's online subsystem. They can team up with that if you want.
Yeah, so we had to take probably like a month or so process into actually integrating Steam into our product. So we had to work on like getting all the paperwork figured out, and then from there, using Steam's API in order to network and connect the servers correctly through Steam, so we could easily get like a Steam invite like you normally get like with most Steam online games.
Mm-hmm. And Unreal Engine really helped us since it had so many tools already made for us. So it has really good animation tools and some LOD and performance saving tools. It really helped us not have to do as much work in the end that it would have taken to do some of this stuff. Like it generates LODs for us and stuff. But yeah, it was a blast, and I felt like, me personally, this project is really big, and I'm like, that's one of the things I'm really happy with, is how big of a project we ended up being able to make with the time we had.
how long does it take to play through your game?
A dev playthrough is like 20 minutes. Sometimes a non-dev playthrough can take like 30 to 40 minutes. If we think it's actually pretty long for a student game.
Yeah. Nice.
Hi, this is Zach again. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties, so I moved over to Nate's computer. One of the things we've noticed on Steam is it takes a player somewhere around 20 to 30 minutes to complete the experience from start to finish.
So is the game already on Steam?
Yep. It is. If you search Don the Falconeer, you can find us.
Nice.
Log on to Steam, grab a buddy, and you're good to go.
Here, I'll put the link in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The other nice thing is that we also have controller support for Ayla and Horu, so you can also play not necessarily just with the keyboard and mouse, but also with a joystick or controller, if you feel like that's a better option.
Mm-hmm. You do need a friend to play with, though, and you do need to have Steam open to be able to run it. So if you download it from the itch page, you'll see to log into Steam at the very least, and have it open if you want the game to work, basically, because it was intended for Steam.
Sure.
Because it uses the system, so it needs to be open. Yeah.
So one player is playing the Falcon, and the other is playing the person. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we've got Horu the Falcon and Ayla the Falconeer. And the idea is the asymmetric gameplay comes in that Horu is able to pick up Ayla and carry her across different areas, and Ayla is able to defeat wraiths for the most part, or that's her main objective, and then hopefully just destroy the corruption that is on this mountain.
Yeah, our original design really focused on this asymmetric gameplay sort of idea, and at first we thinking kind of puzzle-wise that we would have way more like puzzles involving this flight and the shooting of the character. But then towards the end, like as we made the game more, we realized it like scope-wise would have been and the Horu Ayla gets dropped and they both teleport back. Yeah, we realized that it would have been faster and we'd be able to accomplish more as a action platformer.
Nice. How? Tell me about your pitch. Like, how different from your original pitch is this? How close is it? What were the kind of core principles, and did you stick to them?
Sure. Our team stuck pretty tightly with the pitch. The original pitch was you had Ayla the Falconeer and Horu the Falcon, and those two things stayed the same, both boasting different gameplay to suit the needs of different types of players. What ended up changing was details within the combat and how the players would interact with the world. Originally, there was a lot more puzzle solving that had to do with Horu's movement capabilities, and he was limited in what he could do for attacks. As development went on, we found that it was not only easier for us, but also better for the player if we allowed Horu to have more attacks and swapped our focus from puzzling to the left.
Nice. What would you say you're most proud of creating this game?
You wanna go first, Nate?
Yeah, I could go first. So I'd say what I'm most proud of is getting this game on Steam and like having like a successful launch like right on SGX date, as there were a lot of things that we were not aware of in terms of like just getting it on there, in terms of like making sure our store page is ready and then making sure that we've got the correct build, and you know, if there are any other problems with our game in terms of like other distributables that we have to select or builds that we have to make specifically for Steam. I don't know, I'm just really happy with that because this is essentially my first game that I got to put on Steam.
I'm personally really happy with the bar of quality that we set and to strive for, and pretty happy with where we got. We would review everybody's stuff, give feedback, and we would improve the art assets based off the feedback. And we're pretty happy with the result of all the art pipelines and how we think.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, one thing I'm super proud of was getting everyone's art in. Sometimes when you deal with a large scope game, especially in our case, things can get cut, work can be unseen. But in our case, we got everyone's stuff in, it looks good, and I'm really proud of all the hard work that shows through the product that the team put in.
Yeah, that's a huge deal for sure. I think I don't know who did or who can take responsibility for the feathers, but that bird looks really good.
Yeah, so Zach was the one who made the character model, and Haley, our animator, who's basically animating the whole year, takes credit for the great dash animation and the feather animations. Yeah. And I rigged for her. It was great.
Nice. Alright, so tell me about something that went wrong. Like, what would you do differently if you could do it all over again?
Okay, I can go first. I would say not necessarily wrong, but we just so to begin with, we had this game be a local co-op game where it was like split screen, and in the middle of the production, we were like, we've got extra time. We could actually make this into an online co-op and like learn all the stuff that would be needed for this. Which the reason that we didn't decide to do that at first was because a lot of the programmers had not really much experience with Unreal, so we weren't sure how far we were going to get. So we were trying to keep our scope down. But then once we, noticed that we could take a little bit extra time, we did that. But networking or making a networked game is typically better when you start off with making the network game from the start, rather than trying to inject it in the middle of the process. But we did our best and kind of overhauled the code a little bit, and it came out pretty well so far. So.
Yeah, and to talk about some of the other challenges our team faced, I think managing tasks and time was something that was new to me and several other members of the team. And just making sure that things had deadlines and that things were moving along was a real thing we had to get over initially, but towards the end we started getting better about it, and I think our development really started moving forward once we had set up, guidelines for us to follow.
And me personally as a lead, I was trying to figure out, at first in the beginning, I was trying to gauge the speed everyone worked at and how much we were able to get done. So towards the beginning, it was sort of like figuring out what everyone's pace is and seeing where the minimum, if we can achieve the minimum. And that was really tough the first semester, but then the second semester, we were able to sort of break up the work, knowing after the data for the first semester, knowing where everybody's at, the speed they work at, and being able to cut down on the correct places without reducing quality of the game overall really helped us achieve the scope we wanted and have a really good MVP.
Nice. Well, congrats. The game looks great. So, good job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I think
Yeah, thank you so
we're going to move on to the award presentation. So,
That is
Seth.
correct. Yes.
Awesome.
I'll go ahead and get my screen sharing here again then. So yeah, each year, or really each semester, as part of the SGX experience, we that's the wrong screen. Hold on. No, Jane. Let's just stop that for a moment, and get the right one. There we go. That's the one. So with SGX, when it's a live event, we asked the audience to come together and tell us what they found was their favorite games and vote on it all. So we call them the Audience Awards. But now that we're doing this virtually, have been for the last couple times here, we are now having the teachers, the instructors, go through and jury the games and vote on them. So today we are going to come together and do the big reveal here. So this is going to go through all the different 5 class experiences we talked about at the beginning here. It's one thing that's new this year for the students' benefit is that our program is continuing to grow a lot, and we had a lot of games in some of the earlier level classes. And so we decided that for some of the awards, we thought it was only right to have multiple recipients rather than just having it all go to one game. So that's something to be aware of. No time like the present. Let's go ahead and dive in here. So initially here we have our intro to game design, GDD 100. So as before, at the end they produce a physical tabletop game this year, print and play. So first category for that is visuals, best of visuals, and we want to start with some honorable mentions, games that were really did well at this. Chick Magnet, cute little game. Meat Bags, very not cute, but really great art. Mistakes Were Made, and Nightmarish Next of Kin. All of these were sort of runner-ups, honorable mentions. They did a really great job with their visual style. But the real winners for outstanding visual for the Intro to Game Design course goes to Grudgmental Ghosts and Mortal Ascension. Grudgmental Ghosts, this is a great sort of party game in a way, a really nicely set up card game. You are kicking back with your recently deceased friends and dredge up your most embarrassing memories from your past life. And the card game itself wants you to use your real memories and your real things. You are playing yourself in this game. It's a really fun idea. Wonderful art in this. Mortal Ascension. It was this lovely sort of mired in Greek mythology, and you as a slain Greek hero, Hades grants you a reprieve of sorts. Can you survive the perils of the underworld and escape to be brought back to life? Wonderful art throughout this. Lots of cards, each of which had unique art on them. Really well made. Then at GDD 100, we also have gameplay. So first, honorable mentions. We had Bug Hunt, Grudgmental Ghosts, Meat Bags, and Mistakes Were Made. All excellent, but the real winners this time around, winners for outstanding gameplay for Intro to Game Design, goes to Familiar Faces and Primordium. So yes, Familiar Faces, where you are playing as the familiars for recently deceased witches, and you have to deal with the grief of this. You go through the actual stages of grief. So you work through the stages of grief by managing sorrow and resilience, trading cards, and completing tasks. And then Primordium. This is sort of a building of the sort of evolutionary tree game. Again, card game, wonderful gameplay concept where you have to sort of continually make decisions about where you want things to go. So you use genetic material to evolve and build your own tree of life to become the first species to achieve sentience. So congratulations to all these games for GDD 100. And now, right on down the line, GDD 200. Here we have our mobile games this year because it was virtual. They were done as web-based games. So the first time we asked them to make digital games here. So first up, for best visuals, we have some honorable mentions. Kill All Gods, The Last Song, and Project Husked. Very nice animations in all of these games. Very nice artwork. But the real winners this time, outstanding visuals in GDD 200, goes to Fruit Punch, Homeless Hamster, and Kindled. Very different art styles for all three of these games, but they all did a really excellent job. Fruit Punch, you are taking control of a tomato and punch your way through the fruits that have wronged you. It's absolutely wonderful game. Then we've got Homeless Hamster. You are Chibi the hamster, and you need to escape and start on a dangerous journey to figure out where your home will be. Escape from your cage. And then, more on the pixel art end of things, we had Kindled. This is a top-down randomized roguelike bullet hell, where you are moving, you play as an oil diver equipped with only a lantern. Wonderful roguelike experience. All right. Then, moving on, we've got gameplay. A couple of honorable mentions for gameplay: Alchemist Exile and Monster Farm, both wonderful experiences. But the winners for outstanding gameplay in GDD 200 goes to Kill All Gods and Poltergeist. So, Kill All Gods. This was you are a Wolven, a familiar created by a god of the old pantheon. He was killed by opposing gods. However, you have persisted beyond his death and now seek revenge. And then Poltergeist. You become a ghost and use your various poltergeist powers in this perplexing puzzle game. Really excellent work from all the classes. Congratulations to the winners. Our junior level experience, still making 2D games, but this time with few restrictions and much more time spent on the games and in the teams themselves. So first up, honorable mention for visuals in 2D game design and development goes to Battle of the Seas and Kaguya Star Chaser. But the winners for outstanding visuals for GDD 325 are Asunder and Magma Mission. Congratulations, Asunder. Is a puzzle platformer where you guide a kid and their shadow through a deserted world to find their way back home. Really clever mechanic. And Magma Mission. In this game, you mine as much gold as possible before the volcano erupts. You play as 3 DGO, the brave and rambunctious robot. Some wonderful visuals for both of these games. And now, moving on. Honorable mention for gameplay in 2D game design and development. Kaguya Star Chaser, Magma Mission, Oleg, and Stronger Than Brass. All had wonderful gameplay in them. But the winners in this category are Hat High Rise, Monkey Pew Golem, and Squared Up. Congratulations to these 3 teams. Wonderful work. Hat High Rise, it's a platformer where you play as a disgruntled worker who's just been fired. Escape the tower with as many hats as possible on your way to freedom. And Monkey Pew Golem, you are fighting golems, and it is a twin-stick shooter. You must defend the jungle at all costs using your spells. And then Squared Up. You join Cubert, a 3D shape, on his quest to escape the second dimension. Navigate puzzles by morphing Cubert's form, interacting with the world to escape to the third dimension. Some wonderful gameplay elements in all of this. Now, we have another class here, DES 350. This is where the artists are first sort of challenged to take their art pipeline and figure out how it fits into a game engine. And they create, this is just one person per team, creates these environment experiences. So, first up, best visuals. We have nominees this time because there's only going to be one winner. The 2 nominees are Capital City and Temperance Gardens. And the winner is Temperance Gardens by Eleanor Falk. Temperance Gardens is a 3D experience based on the tarot card Temperance. I should mention all of these games usually are inspired by a tarot card. The main elements I can take from this card are peace, balance, and tranquility. All right, now best interactivity, kind of like gameplay, but these are really just interactive experiences. We have 2 nominees, Hallways and Seldom Seclusion. And the winner is Seldom Seclusion by Jace. Subtle Seclusion is a game about self-isolation and introspection and the effects it can have. Explore the cabin and find something hidden deeper below. Congratulations. Excellent work, everyone in DES 350 this year. And now, our senior experiences. These are the games that you just saw. So we have Curse of Janksbury, Dawn of the Falconeer, Inconvenience Store, One Teddy Lost, Supernova Stadium, and Vessel. We consider them all nominees. Again, 2 categories. We have Best Visuals and Best Gameplay. First up, the winner for Best Visuals from our senior capstone sequence is Dawn of the Falconeer. That was the last game that was presented, and they really had a wonderful visual style. So it's a cooperative, asymmetric action-adventure 3D puzzler. You play as Ayla, a spunky falconeer, or Horu, the brave falcon, to explore a mountain devastated by wild magic and plagued by nightmarish wraiths. Then we have Best Gameplay. Same 6 nominees. And the winner for Best Gameplay is Dawn of the Falconeer. They made a sweep of it. Wonderful work. Congratulations to the team. Really excellent work. Really massive scope of a game to create in a single semester, and it shows. So don't forget, you can play most of these games. Go on over to uwstout.itch.io, or for Dawn of the Falconeer, we've got the link to their Steam page. Will probably work a little easier. Enjoy these games. Provide some comments and feedback to the students. They would love to hear from you. And thank you, everyone, so much for letting us present these awards here at this. We really appreciate it. All right.
Okay, thanks so much, Seth. That was fantastic.
Great.
And thanks everyone for watching. I think we're pretty much wrapped up. So
yeah,
it was a great night. I'm always blown away by seeing these kids' projects. I mean, it's a little bit disheartening as someone who, doesn't have enough time to make all the games that I want to make.
Oh yes.
So yeah, no, just fantastic, and love seeing this every year. So anyway,
thank you. We love presenting it. This year in particular, it was so trying. Several of these classes met hybrid. A few of these teams met entirely online, completely remotely when they made these games. It was an interesting experience, and what I really loved at the end is people had good things to say about working remotely as much as they had disappointments about it. And we've learned a lot about the positives of that, which is encouraging. And I think the games speak for themselves in terms of quality. I don't think anything suffered for it.
Yeah, I mean, in some respects, it's a really interesting time in history, because I think, just thinking about it, like the technology didn't exist for all the remote work that we've done in the last year. Even 5 or 6 years ago, like it wouldn't have been possible. But I think we're just kind of, because of the pandemic, we're going to see, not every company is going to return to in-person work. I mean, and a good percentage of them won't. So it's super interesting time.
Absolutely.
And on that note, everyone enjoy your evening. We do sometimes do some chat after chat in Discord, so everyone is welcome to join us in Discord. I don't know how long that'll go or whether anything will come of it, but you're welcome to congregate in there. Thanks again, everyone who presented, and thanks, Seth.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.